I'm Aviana Lemaire. I'm going to talk about being the antisocial autist and a lot of stress, or maybe I'm going to talk about being shut down or being shut down because of it. I keep thinking about the sensation of being shut down because I've been trying to record videos for a while, and that's what keeps happening. And it keeps coming from this weird experience of social interactions. And I'm a person who has multiple definitions for words. So some people think of the word home as being kind of laissez-faire. They just are going to go home. I'll throw this, people say, oh, I'm tired here, I'm going to go home. They throw this term around. It just means the place where they live, wherever it is that they're staying, a hotel, a friend, the place where they lived for 50 years and never felt comfortable, whatever it is. So for me, when I say home, I mean, the quickest way to explain it is in a spiritual sense. A place where you feel safe and you can be yourself. A place where you can do what you want to do and you're safe to do it. No one's discouraging you. You're not being attacked or criticized, things like that. I've had a lot of really fascinating experiences in life, and I used to really resent it as a child. Someone I knew would just throw this term around, go home, go home, go home, and my spirit longed for a home and never had one. It looked and it searched, so it really bothered me to just have it thrown about all the time. It was a personal pet peeve. When I was a child and I was learning what that what that word did and didn't mean. So I'm sitting here now in yet another situation that looks like, I know to a lot of people it looks like a good thing. There's been a lot of protection in my life that people can look right at hell and see a heaven. So I'm kind of fine for that, because I find that God has it set up in a certain way. If a person hears you telling the truth and they tell you it's a lie, God has a reason why that person can't handle the truth. They can't process it, and God is filtering it right out of your life. Sometimes you need someone to believe you about something. You might need to convince them, but very often in life it's protection. They have this annoying phrase that I kind of hate to see coming that says, basically, if somebody rejects you, I can't even say it because I can't stand it. I have personal reasons why, but if somebody is rejecting you or something about you, that is God protecting you or something about you. And the truth is, as much as the phrase absolutely sucks to my ear when I hear it, it is telling a real story. So I know this concept, but it's been weird for me because I've been that person constantly trying to go home, and it's just always been that place where all the people reject you. I have met some of the worst experiences in my life when I got what they call home. And I will never call that a home because, I'm autistic. All my Audis out there, calling something that violates everything that it has been proven to be just is a huge, I just can't stand it in my spirit. I can't stand the lie. So I'm thinking about this idea of it, and now we're upon the holiday seasons. And I'm in this situation where some people will look and see it as favor and lovely and, oh, what a wonderful life you must lead. And it's the age-old truth that everybody knows at some point in their life, even if it's not obvious. It really doesn't matter what it looks like to somebody else. It could be your own personal hell. There's an obvious upside to creature comforts like having access to food and clean water that I'm not sure anyone sensical is going to deny. It's just that it doesn't do anything to eliminate the horror strokes across your life where, the grand painter that created it just decided to do ugly and vile until there was nothing else left. So the holiday season is coming about, and I frankly live in a place where I just generally am under stress because I don't have a home and I'm not in a good place. So then you add something else to it. There's a lot of personal stuff going on, and then the holidays come around, and I guess I feel reasonably safe to talk about something like the holidays because everybody knows. A lot of people have the same traditions regionally speaking. Like if you have grown up with, or you keep, wherever it is that you are, if you've grown up with something like Thanksgiving, and even if you move and you keep the tradition globally just because it's something that you like, or you're attached to it, or it's habit, whatever it is, people have a tendency to know how it's approached and what's done. I've always personally thought that what I dealt with throughout my life, for some reason I've always had somebody there who goes way overboard. Like, I've been watching somebody right now start cooking a week early, and I haven't been participating in this. Thank God. It was one of those personal boundaries I had to put up in life. It wasn't easy. It doesn't look nice. A lot of people won't understand. But I had to save myself and my health and my mental well-being and just my ability to deal and not participate in this infinite insanity that goes on. But it's also not having my own home. There are all these people, and long story short, there's a situation where somebody just wants to have people over. And no matter what you've been through for somebody, with me, no matter what I've been through with somebody, if that's like it's a life's interest of theirs, for me it's pure misery. But somebody else is into this and they want to do it, and it's never worked out. This year it seems to be magically working out. So I was asked what I thought, and for some reason I'm just me. So I'm like, you know what? It's not like I'm going to enjoy it anyway. This is not going to be a good thing for me. So if I'm going to be in hell, why not add extra layers? And if it's something that would bring this other person's heart some kind of joy, life has changed, things have happened. Our relationship certainly isn't the same. So kind of makes me think you need some joy from elsewhere. Some of us will know. I know myself, and I know who I have been, and I know who I am in life, and I'm a person who is a positive addition in somebody's life. And so when you finally throw me away so hard one day that my heart can't heal from it in the same way anymore, and I know I'm not, something has changed and it's permanent, and I know you're not going to participate in fixing it, you can't even admit it. I go off and I heal, but I am still thinking about the other person who harmed me. They're now going to lose me. And sometimes when you lose one person, you're basically alone. So I'm thinking this would be something for that person who I'm unfortunately living with right now. Have something that they want in life, but it's going to be miserable for me. And the closer it approaches, the more I'm freaking out. Anxiety, panic, blah, blah, blah. So then we get into this situation about the concept of the antisocial autist who doesn't want to be around everybody, which could be its own video. And then we get into the concept of the routine, right? Because my routine, I'm already scared because I know I can't get up and live my life properly. And if somebody's all over the kitchen cooking and doing everything, I'm not going to be able to get in there and just make my basic quick breakfast or have my snacks or refresh my water or anything properly, because holiday like this, it's a work holiday, it's a housekeeping holiday, it's a cooking holiday, it's a holiday of labor. And in my experience in life, it's always been the sort of gender normality situation where you're under duress because you're the girl. For instance, the way I was raised, it was a situation where it wasn't just girls in the house, but only the girls had to cook and slave in the kitchen in pain and for days and days and days, because you're doing somebody else's specific tradition. That's what they picked, that's what they want. And as I tried to say earlier, I think it's really overboard what I've been dealing with, because for some reason I always have somebody who goes overboard and does it really, really big. It's not the fairy tale you see in the movies where somebody starts cooking, like maybe you do desserts the night before and then you start cooking early in the morning and you cook all day. It's literally been days beforehand. Then it reached to a point where I'm dealing with somebody cooking for a week beforehand, and I'm just looking at this stuff like, you're working with organ meats, making different recipes. It goes into stuff. You have broths and stews or whatever they call it, stocks. You have broths and stocks, and I'm just thinking, you're going to start cooking that early? I'd be concerned that the stuff is going to go bad. And then famously, you have leftovers for absolutely ever if you overcook to the point where no one can eat it. So it's just weeks and weeks of horror for me. I don't like it. And it's not because, I mean, I'm autistic and that affects everything, but autistic is just a label somebody put on my type of brain and my type of personality, my type of needs. And my personality isn't summed up by somebody else's imaginary label for who I am. It's never been the case. I've said before in videos, I knew who I am outside of everything. I already grew up as a female in brown skin. I'm very accustomed to somebody telling me that because I look away. No, it's not about how I look. I could look that way without them in the room and I don't have a problem. Because somebody's issues or assumptions or lack of growth or limited information, because something in them is triggered by something about me, something they see, something they hear, I have to suddenly be a certain person or a certain thing or think in a certain way or do certain stuff. So by the time I realized I was autistic decades into my life, I had just already had so many different things drilled into me about who and what I was supposed to be, my value, my worth. Like, I've run into this before. I know how it works. You put a label on me and the next thing you know, I'm limited in all these specific ways. Obviously, none of them are true. If any of these things were true, they'd just be happening in Earth. For somebody to have to fight so hard to relegate females or to relegate brown people or to relegate indigenous people or to relegate neuro, spicy, different, fascinating, divergent people, the amount of work that you have to put into it proves that it's not inherently true. Because if we were naturally, whatever you're saying about us, if we naturally sat as females in all these pinched, tight ways, you wouldn't have to teach us how to naturally sit in all these pinched, tight ways. You look at female children, before somebody teaches them that they have to sit in a pinched, tight way, they very often are just living their lives happily. They're running around along with the boys doing it. And you could also look at the boys. We're all human beings. I'm not sure that there is a type of human being that naturally makes itself as uncomfortable as possible without having learned that from somewhere. But that's kind of another point, I don't know, it's all in there. I think it's just a bunch of holidays. I think it's just the holiday spew. I'm just talking about the holiday experience. And I'm kind of talking about it from the perspective of potentially the antisocial autist, because that's what apparently I am on paper, and that's what I've been called, and I've been called that a lot throughout my life. Not always as kindly and politely as saying antisocial, but frankly, when I was called that term, it wasn't done kindly and politely. But I'm just thinking, so many thoughts, because my mind won't stop worrying about it, because I'm also the antisocial autistic ADHDer. So all these different thought layers have gotten to the point where it's everywhere, and my feelings are triggered now because it's getting closer and closer. I don't want to do this, but I don't have another place to be. And I've been trying to just calm down and try specific meditations I've been trying, and stay in prayer, which sounds like a big stressful thing, but for me it's really not. It's actually, I can't believe I'm saying this after a long life of weird experiences, but the closer I get to what God actually is instead of what I'm taught it is, the more comforting prayer becomes to me, and it's very natural. I'm just talking to God. And I'm kind of bonding with that part inside of me that is God. There are all these different philosophies, but it's about that. So I've been doing a lot of that, and it's gotten to the point where it's all so close now. I can't stop freaking out about it. And yesterday I was asked a whole bunch of, I had one question to ask. I don't know how many of us have this experience. You have a yes or no question, and you ask it, and before you know it, you're stuck in this situation where somebody is telling you everything, and you just needed a yes or no so you could move on functionally and figure out what to do and how to plan and how you're going to deal. But then it was just bombarded with information when I was way too tired to deal with it. And it's like that thing where you know how a relationship with somebody goes, they're going to tell you everything, but I didn't ask for any of that, and I was hoping I could just get what I need. And so, long story short, that situation that might have been neutral for somebody, which was inherently stressful for me with all the information, sent me over the edge. And I've woken up thinking about it, so I'm filming this right after I wake. The sensation of just wanting to be alone. And a lot of times, a lot of us as human beings, whether we are autistic or we are autistic and ADHD, or we're ADHD or we're neurotypical, some of us, excuse me, the hiccup was too strong, I couldn't fight it. I'm trying to swallow it and my voice is changing and everything. But some of us will know we're not just born wanting to stay away from people per se. What happens is that we have an experience, as with anything. We might be introduced to a food and we don't want the food after we've tasted it, because after we've tasted it we realized, ew, that's disgusting to me. How are you eating this? I don't want any. Or we realize, ugh, after I ate that I felt sick all day. My stomach is messed up. It's happened the past 3 times in a row. I think this food makes me sick. I don't want it anymore. So I've had this experience with the social thing. So I guess that's what I'm talking about on holidays. There's something about it because it's a bombardment. The way I've always lived has always been a weird situation. For whatever reason, I have never so far gotten away from it. The best that I do and the best that I try end up in a situation where the holidays are being done. It's infinite work. The females are harangued into and no one else. And I just think I lost all my words. I might need to take a break and re-edit this, which I really don't want to do. But I just keep thinking I want to go home. And where exactly is that supposed to be? Because now I have to decide. There are all these decisions. I've been asked, like, oh, people are coming over during this time of the day. They might be coming during that time of the day. You might have these people then. Those people might come. There will be strangers. There will be people I don't know. There will be a mixture of everything. The world has opened up and reached into the grab bag of people I know, people I don't know, people I'm related to, people I'm not related to. Frankly, it seems to be varying age ranges, and it's just pure craziness. So there's a lot of unfamiliarity being added to something where what I am familiar with, the familiarity of it, the stress and all that stuff, like I said, I know I won't be able to get up and have a cozy coffee, do any of my comforting routines. My mind that wants to blow up routines and can't seem to get them done at the same time every day, but when I do them, I need them. I'm not going to be able to do them because everything is going to be going on. It would be a miracle and I would love it, but to my awareness, I won't have a kitchen of my own to walk into and quietly make my morning coffee, or a place where I can sit down and block out the world and not think about this holiday and not smell the food. And it's come to a point where, like right now, my situation is somebody who can cook and people like their cooking sincerely. But I'm so disgusted with the traditional holiday fare, I can't stand the smell anymore. It's kind of like the antisocial thing. I went from being a child where people were just this curious thing that were floating around, just like animals and trees and grass. You look out into the wild and you see organic things, flora and fauna, and sometimes when they're humans, the fauna comes into the house. Well, I guess any type could. I've had experiences where I look down and suddenly a cat is rushing in like it knows it's on its way home for dinner. But this is not your home, cat. I've never met you before. Now I'm freaked out. Do you carry disease? Do you enjoy scratching people when they try to shoo you? What's going on? I was closing the door. The cat was in. It's a strong memory. Sometimes humans are like those cats. I seem to be tangled in my cord. What is happening? I just lost my mic. Had no idea where it put it. Anyway, sometimes humans are like that cat. In my life, a lot of human beings have just been like that cat where I'm like, okay, that's it, I'm going to close my door. And the next thing you know, you have a room full of cats. You're like, what the heck happened? I didn't invite you. But it's never been my home. I've never been in a nice situation where it's just my home, or like oh, I don't know, the dream was I met the love of my life early and I got married and we went into a home. The love of my life, I've come to find over the years that the love of my life would and should love me in such a way where my comfort would matter. I was raised to not know kind of the good side of people and the natural, wonderful essence, because it was just a really insane life. Part of why I don't like to go into details is that traditionally people don't believe it. I've had a life that it seems like people can only believe when they've sort of been born and then just gone through hell nonstop for decades. And it seems like there are a few of us who've been through so much that we get that, so I always feel like I'm alone in it, and it's just easier not to go into the detail. If I just talk about the situation, it seems to be less of a challenge for someone to accept, because most people in this day and age have heard that life contains situations and they can accept it. But one of mine, and the only one I'm trying to think about right now, I was trying not to think about it and it won't work. It's just I kind of wish I could have the situation like the dream thing. I'm just leaning back further and further as I go, The dream life where I just have my own home and I could shut everybody out and no one is allowed in. And how did it get that way? Because everything that I need got violated to the point where I now don't want people around. I wasn't born not wanting people, but here I am. And it's not 100%. I still have all these different social needs and I can feel very lonely. And my heart is built for love. My heart is built for love and for loving people and for apparently having people love me. So I've gone through all of this stuff in my life and I've come back around to a point where I've dug out all of the glass and chips of violent things that have been shoved in to my most raw spiritual places, and I have done what's necessary. I did the triage and I did the long-term rehabilitation, and the flesh is healed and I'm seeing what's left, and what's left is that I still have that desire for people. But I think one of the places where people just don't necessarily always get us as Audis is we want it, but we want it with consent. I think in a world of pseudo-consent culture where it's about the theory and the repetition more than the function, for some reason when it comes down to autists, nobody is processing the concept of our consent. They're just, the question of us being social or us being antisocial seems so often to be, and it has been in my life, about whether or not we can just do what they've consented to in a way that they've consented to based on their traditions and their needs. And if that doesn't suit us, it doesn't seem to be about making room for our consent, for our safety and our comfort, or understanding what that even is. People act like they can't understand that. And I'm not trying to be funny here, but I have watched people discover that they can only feed their cat if they use the good china and the high quality food. People are out there giving up their lives to understand how their cats work. And there's this constant joke that autists are like cats, but it's not really a joke because we have a lot of similar behaviors where it's kind of like, you know, how a cat will go off and be by themselves because they need some alone time, but when they do want you, they will come up and interact. But when they do interact, they're not interacting like NT or human culture, right? They have a different way of doing it, but people are out here learning how to interact with their cats and how to move their eyes. And I've seen somebody who has deciphered the cat meow and can speak cat. People are speaking cat to their cats. You can find it. They're filming it and putting it online because, of course, if it's not online, did it really happen anyway? I think that used to be specific to a particular website, but I swear now it's just about all social media. In my opinion, it seems like if it didn't happen on social media, did it even take place at all for some people? But people are out there trying to learn cat. If your brain is capable of learning cat, I will now never believe that you cannot learn Autist, because we can speak to you in a human language that you can type into a translator app or ask somebody else about and find out what the words mean. And there's apparently this guy out there who's taken cat, and so far as I have known, at least until this moment, there's never been a cat app for translation. Now that I put it into the universe, I expect to see it. But I don't believe people can't understand us, because I know just enough about the brain to understand we have a tendency to learn whatever's put in front of us. It's how some of us end up deeply traumatized in life, because we're born like me. I was born just unbothered. I was chill. I keep remembering what it was like to be relaxed. It's kind of a haunting memory these days, because I've been dealing with stupid stress for actually a while now. It's come, life sometimes does this, but it's been a stupid life. And so I remember when I had a moment where I was like, I feel like I can relax. And then when all of a sudden all these stresses come up and all these new things and stuff I don't want to deal with, like having everything can't do my routines on that day, can't calm on that day, won't be quiet on that day, won't be able to be alone on that day, can't really secede from the union, so to speak, on that day. Nothing I'm going to be able to do, because it's not like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go to have everything the way I need it? My life wasn't about what I consented to. It was about what everyone else consented to bringing to me or doing to me. And this is how I've ended up in this place, trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to learn myself. I'm trying to learn how antisocial I truly am. And right now I'm lost in this place where I keep having flashbacks to me. I can feel the sensation of me being a child early on. When I was toddler age, I remember this stuff. I remember being born. So it's not hard for me to remember being a toddler. I just remember the sensation of sitting there. Everybody else was running around like crazy cats, flora and fauna out there in the wild. And I was just watching, because I was the quiet one. I stayed reasonably contained, I wasn't a big problem, so to speak. I didn't do all the horrifying things. I was the child where you could sit me there and say, stay put. Don't get up and go do something. Don't run into the street. Don't, all the stuff where people worry. They know their children. They know children in general. I didn't do that stuff. So I sat and I watched everybody else being crazy, including all the other children. And I didn't have a need to be away from people then, but then more stuff happened, more experiences took place. Somebody brought their random rampant brat into my life when I was about 2 or 3, and she picked up a very nice, sophisticated toy. I don't want to get into it, but I've never seen any other thing like it, and it was never replaced. She just picked it up, waved it over her head, ran out the door, and chucked it as hard as she could like it was a football down the hall. The crushing sounds that I heard, I didn't want her to pick it up. So I was already freaked out, because what are you doing? You don't need to pick it up to play with it. It's not that kind of thing. I'll just say it was in the realm of something like an easy bake oven. It wasn't electrical like that, but it was something like that. You do not need to pick this thing up and hold it like you're going to hike it. But that's what she did. I was freaking out. There it went. All of a sudden in that moment, I have this distinct memory, because it was a life changer for me. I'm like, people can do things like that? She didn't even do it with her own stuff. She chose to do it with me. I don't even know what was wrong with her. She was always like that. Some children are. And honestly, I say children, but some people are all throughout life. It's just a whole spirit that's just there for the whole of life. But I learned in that moment that someone could do something like that. And so I went from being fully unbothered and thinking my stuff was safe to suddenly being concerned that my stuff wasn't safe, especially around crazy people. I say with love, that was crazy. To me, she was a crazy person. Why would you do that? I have no idea what happened. I just know I was busy silently not liking her, because she had been irritating me and being a tornado of misery all day. And I'm just dealing, because I'm the quiet child and I was the nice child and I treated people nicely. And my reward for that is that she did this, ruined something, and I've remembered it to this day, because she ruined it, and then it existed constantly in a state of ruination. So it's still ruined. It's not like it automatically fixed itself when I got into bed at night and went to sleep. It's not like I'm playing Zelda and the red moon rose or whatever they call it and everything just came back to life. Are you kidding? No, it's still destroyed. So I remember to this day, because that's how my mind works, and it taught me something about people. And I found that people will do that. Other children would do that with other things. They would do it with soft toys, hard toys. They get to a certain point where they'll do it with another friendship. God forbid you're friends with a sister and her sister is insane. You can't get in that. They're sisters. They have their own mess to deal with in life. Excuse me. So now this other sister is going to just be nasty to you. People do it with your finances. They do it with your life opportunities. Some people do it on a grand scale where they're aware of what they're doing. And some people live their entire lives thinking they're not doing anything. They're still doing it. They do it to relationships. They'll do it with a romance. They'll do it with their body into your relationship when it is a romance. I learned something that day when she chucked that thing down the hall, and I've been relearning it over and over again with people throughout my whole life. Somebody might just pick up your cool, groovy, unique, never seen another one, no one had anything like it, beautiful, favorite toy where I had a set of adjoining pieces, and now she broke the set. So it's not just that she broke the thing, it was a set, she broke the set. The other one's fine. Every time I look at it, I just want my one that she broke. And it reminds me forever, there's a remnant. There's a shard in my life that didn't get swept up and ostensibly thrown away. That reminds me of what she broke, and this is what it's been like. Thanksgiving is another thing somebody picked up and threw and broke. It could have just been a beautiful day. I spent the whole of my life being like, can't you just not do this? I'd be asked, what do you think we should do? I'm the person who would suggest something like, I remember one time a specific situation where someone I loved dearly asked me what I wanted to do. Excuse me, it's this concept of we don't have to do it the hard way. And I said, why don't we do soup? You could just make a big pot of soup and we could just be cozy with soup and hot cocoa and something. You know, watch a movie. Do something normal, like in my mind normal, where normal doesn't just mean it's an average of whatever craziness is happening across, you know, like people generally think of whatever they consider to be their culture, whatever they consider their culture to be, average out the experience, they pick whatever they think is the best or the acceptable parts and they call that normal. Well, for me, normal in my mind has a completely different meaning where it's like something healthy. So I just was like, let's do soups and hot cocoa, do something healthy and have a good day. And you know, you get fake agreement and then you end up with 50,000 different things and cooking for a week and, you know, for days or a week. It's just always something like that. It's never apparently been someone normal and something like normal healthy, my definition of it, something healthy. So I've never had that kind of nice day. Then many years later, somebody else popped up and without them trying, they end up being treated by this other person. Like the way that person should have been treating me, they're treating this new person. It's happened all of my life, and here it was happening again. So this new person comes in, and that person that I used to love dearly treats that new person the way they should have been treating me. The new person says, oh, for Christmas, why don't we do soups and hot cocoa? And lo and behold, I get up on Christmas Day, and instead of just having a normal soup and a bunch of hot cocoa, it's like 4 or 5 different types of soup and big vats of it nobody could possibly eat, but it's excess. That person just does excess like the rest of us do breath. If they're alive, it's just happening. So it was all of these different soups, and it was a million different boxes and brands and apparently giant balls of cocoa that you can unwrap and throw into hot water. And when they melt, they have mini marshmallows inside. And that sounds good. It wasn't that bad. Apparently I'm some kind of a food snob. I want my food to taste good, and I don't always like the super processed ickiness of it all. For me, I can taste the lack of flavor. I can taste all the binders and fillers versus the seasonings and stuff. So it wasn't great for me, but my takeaway from that wasn't you can throw a hot cocoa bomb, and I did take that away. It's actually kind of a cool idea. If they did it out of stuff I would like, it would be so. If there are marshmallows inside of a round thing, it's the Death Star. You're just unleashing the Death Star on the world, except instead of utter destruction, you now have a mouthful of chocolatey milk. How could you go wrong? So even though I didn't love it, I'm not hating it. It's a Death Star of cocoa and sugar, but I don't, little sugar bombs inside. How can I not? I'm here for that. I enjoyed. But I also spent the entire day thinking, when you were supposed to love me like that, and I kept saying soup and cocoa, that was an impossible thing. But one brand new person walks in, and now you give them all of the love and all of the honor and all of the vows and everything. Now we're doing my chosen holiday for them. It was way overdone. I didn't want a million sickening options, but I mean, it wasn't sickening like it was gross. It's just, to me, the excess and the shocking stress, and there's too much to put away. You can't give it all away. That's not how I live life. It's not what I want to do. It's not my style. But basically, it's just like that stupid cocoa hot chocolate bomb blew up in my life. I threw it in that mug, and it's kind of like I'm participating in the throwing of my toy when I was a child. I wanted something, and I had this in my heart, and you managed to do it in a way that messed me up. And you did it for someone else when you'd never do it for me. A lot of us have been through that. So you love me, and you say you do it for me. You love me so much, right? All these grand supplies and all these grand promises and things, but you didn't love me enough to just cook soup. But some random who is fine, this isn't their problem, but I mean, when you're talking about a relationship between two people and some third party comes in and it's a random person getting treated the way you have spent your life praying that person will one day treat you, that taught me something about people, taught me something about trust. You just picked something else up from inside of me and threw it. And so now I kind of don't want people around. I kind of don't want the holiday because my consent has been violated so many times that it's what do they call it now? I'm about to say Schrodinger syndrome because I think my words are leaving me. It's funsies. I have a touch of that thing, the ADHD thing, where sometimes you just can't think of the word, and when I get extremely tired, it gets big. So since it's going blazing bright with light and my words are going, and I'm about to say Schrodinger syndrome when that's not what I mean, I'm trying to reference. I'm not kidding when I say I literally just forgot what I was trying to say. So I'm going to take that as a hint. I'm tired. I think I'm done with the video, and my overall point seems to have been to just talk about how some of this stuff happens, the antisocial thing, and because there are a lot of autists. It's like every person I know who's autistic is like, more people, sure, bring them in. More events, yeah, bring them in. There's this thing that we don't like this stuff and we don't want to go out and we don't want to know people. I swear I'm the only autistic person I know who wants to stay inside in a hut and turtle down like I'm inside of my own shell. But I'm also the only autistic person I know who grew up in my life and went through all of this stuff and has had everything literally and figuratively picked up and thrown away and broken. It's cause and effect. I think sometimes I wonder, are we going to be around long enough on this earth and this iteration of things for people to learn that autistic people are human beings? So if a human being, if someone they consider to be a human being can have an experience and learn, why is it that they think we're born with everything we do and we can't and don't learn anything? I guess that's a part of the pathology. We're just born with pure crazy and we don't learn anything because we're too busy stereotyping our own needs and desires and blocking people out and doing whatever we do that makes them Google whether there's a difference between autism and narcissism. That's just something I came across at some point in my life. I'm like, are you kidding me? I have personally experienced, I'm just going to disclose this as far as the antisocial thing, some of the stuff in my life, I have personally experienced the effects of, I don't have the words to say it because a person can be different things and their diagnosis isn't always 100% the end of the story. But in general, something that's well known about a narcissist is that they have a tendency to think and act in a certain way. If you end up on the receiving end of the particular style of abuse that comes from someone who thinks that way, you know what you're experiencing. If you're blessed to find out and be able to put a name to it, you know what you're experiencing, and you'll probably recognize it from that point forward in life. I've actually experienced and been the victim of narcissistic and of sociopathic behaviors and abuses. And it's been stuff that, because of people, has been in and out of my life in different ways since I was born into a situation with it, and everything went haywire from there. So when I, as the empathic person whose heart aches for people, they don't even need to care about me. I just care in general because it's who I am. When I've been that person, and I was the child who was so guileless. I used to hate that about myself, but that's probably something else to talk about later on. I was the guileless, empathic child who cared, and I didn't see this stuff coming, and I didn't know someone would pick up your life and your heart and just chuck it down the hall and break it into a million smithereens. And then I went through living through some narcissistic and sociopathic specific styles of abuse. Didn't know if I was going to live through them, and I wasn't meant to, because things were done. And I'm not hiding that anymore. By the grace of God, I'm still alive despite all of it. There's something really upsetting to me about seeing somebody who thinks that because I'm autistic, that's just who I am. Or any of us. It's just a really fascinating thing to remind myself how easy it is for somebody to be that person whose perceptions have changed everything. And that's not my bent in life. My bent is to understand enough that I just see the truth. So maybe I'll update on the holiday situation at some point. I don't know what's going to end up happening. I've been given a million options. Am I going to come during this time, that time, the other? Are you kidding? This is where I live. If I have to go to the restroom at all during the day, I'm going to technically be in it. So I don't know why we're giving me false choices and fake concepts that things can get done, because unless I move out to the Shire or go back in time and marry the love of my life and move out, this is my experience and my situation, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but it sure seems like I'm going to be waking up for the entire week being in it, whether I like it or not. I'm not accustomed to having the decisions. I'm 41 years of age, and I don't know if anyone's ever asked me anything about whether I plan to come to a holiday or not. Because I just haven't been in that situation, so I just have laid back and dealt with it. I don't even know what to think. All I know is that right now, my happy holiday situation would be nobody's there except I'd be alone with the love of my life. And maybe he'd cook something groovy for me. And maybe we'd watch a movie. Or maybe I'd just be so happy I'd sit down and watch whatever the heck. I don't even have to pick. I'm like, oh, Marvel, that's my fantasy. Pizza and a Marvel movie. I like them. I have thoughts, but I like them and I watch them. But who knows? At this point, I'd be happy to let somebody else choose and let me just zone away. Let's face it, as long as you've got a phone, you could technically be doing something else. Even if something is playing that you don't want to see. But now I'm getting off into happy. This is a good thing. I'm getting into a happy place. I got out my nervous energy, and now I'm thinking about what I'd rather have instead. And I don't know that it sounds entirely antisocial. I used to want to be alone, but now I'm 100% attached to this concept that I do not have to be alone for life. I'm not alone for life. I 100%. End of story. I'm in a good manifestation mindset. And think one day I'll have my happy holiday situation where it's not just being a nest that every bird needs to land in for the day. So I guess that's it. I'm going to keep talking. It's what I do. So I'm going to go ahead and be out. Please like, share, subscribe, and do all that other stuff. I'm not doing a huge outro anymore. This is 2025. I'm on social media. You know what to do. If you feel compelled, thank you. That's about it. Bye now.